Hi, welcome to this video. Today we're gonna talk about Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl. So this is an early impression of the game, and sadly I have a bit more bad than good to say about this game, at least for the moment. Although I don't believe it's a bad game, so hear me out on this. Stalker is a franchise I've never dived into before. Stalker is a franchise I've never dived into. The games are quite old and they were never really on my radar. So I heard a thing or two about the games, but they weren't, super popular. So I forgot about them and I just kind of played other things. They were never super marketed before, and if you knew them because you might have been a fan or you got into the genre because of other games. I do love the East European apocalypse vibe a lot, actually. I really enjoy playing all the Metro games and the atmosphere that Metro brings in that universe. Even games like Fallout 2 are very like apocalyptic, and I just love the like apocalypse in general. It's a great genre and with the options for a lot of different settings. So when I heard that this game was releasing, I was actually quite excited. It's a new apocalypse East European game with good graphics, new gen, whatever. It was exciting. And luckily, I was already subscribing to Xbox Game Pass, which the game is already on. So I didn't have to pay the full price to play the game. So let's talk about the price. The game costs $60 or 60 euros depending on your country. It's the standard AAA cost since, well, a while back. If you know, you know. At least I've been buying games for 60 bucks since I was a kid. Besides the price tag being 60 buckaroos, which could be a turn down for some, here comes the game's size. The actual hard drive space size. And that's 160 gigabytes. Yeah, 160 gigabytes, which is absolutely huge. And this game is, well, it falls into the category of one of the biggest games I've ever downloaded, probably all time. This might be the biggest. And I don't know if it's the game that has that much content or if it's some sort of compression issues that it's got and that's why it's so big. At least as of making this video, I couldn't really find any info on how long the game was, but an article said there was somewhere around 70 hours of gameplay, so maybe that's why. But with that in your mind, I myself played about 10 hours total. I think a bit more from watching the VOD recordings that I did previously. So with that in mind, let's talk about the Stalker experience. The game throws you right in with a good looking cutscene, with some radio interview, and you in the back of a truck. You don't know that obviously, but later you find out that you are on the truck. You later get off the truck and the tutorial starts. They dump you straight in. Premise of the game is that your house got ruined by some alien crystal, and now you want to sell that crystal or do something with the crystal that's gonna get you money so you can get a new home. That's kind of what I gathered from the game at the very least. The tutorial is in general pretty simple. It's your standard WASD first person shooting game. So if you've played any of the other thousands other games that have the same style, then you basically know what you're getting into already. But besides showing you the vital keybinds that you need to know, like using health items and leaning and crouching and whatnot, the game throws you right in without much explanation. I like that. The sense of self-discovery, understanding your surroundings without someone yapping or unnecessary dialogue. I think that's all good. I really like this a lot. This reminds me of Dark Souls 1, how you're just thrown into the game and you're just, go ahead buddy, figure it out. Get good. I remember that and it's a dear childhood memory of mine and I love it. And this kind of reminded me of that, so I really love this feature too. Throughout the tutorial, it shows you basically what the game offers you. The gunplay, the anomalies, the monsters, the looting, how to get these things called artifacts and what they are. And lastly, the whole hazards of the whole zone. The zone is where you are, at least. That's the area, the zone. But then you get knocked out and you lose all the gear you gathered and you are back to zero, with only a pea shooter at your side. You also get to learn how to deal with these hazards. They are called anomalies, with the help of a bolt. You throw the bolt at the anomalies and they get deactivated for some time. So you can sprint through them and get into safety. And that's kind of it. That's the basics of the game, so to say. After that, you get a general direction for the MSQ, which you are mostly left to your own devices. You can do what you want, go where you want, kill who you want. Yes, this game actually lets you kill anyone. And I mean anyone. You can go into a town and start blasting. You can take an NPC to a quest, and kill him right afterwards. And I kinda love this. More of this. Freedom of choice, freedom of gameplay. Because there's so many games these days that restrict you on your gameplay and what you can and cannot do, who you can shoot, who you cannot shoot. They're so linear. Even if they're an open world, they're linear in a different way, if you get what I mean. So seeing something like this, it's a nice change of pace, and I really like this. So what I did is that I basically started exploring the world. I did some side quests. I ended a lot of potentially innocent lives after getting my quest rewards. So I was around killing a bunch of NPCs. And there wasn't much consequence at all for killing these NPCs. Unless you did it in a town, which makes, the whole town shoot at you and probably kill you. But besides that, it makes sense though. In those environments, if someone goes missing, it could be anomalies, mutants, bandits, or just bad luck. Or the player. So, I did follow the main quest for a good bit, and I also explored and enjoyed the side quest. And I really did enjoy walking around the world. It was this awful scenery, and the weather was just menacing in a sense. It was all really neat. Even though it looked like shit, I liked being in that shit. It was cool, it was immersive. But sadly, some flaws to the game started showing throughout the whole playthrough. There were in general minor bugs with the lighting and the enemies' bodies flying around sometimes after killing them. That's fine. That's the sort of jank I like in these games. They bring life and charm to them. I don't mind those. Sometimes they're even welcome. Like Skyrim. I loved Skyrim for how goofy and quirky and buggy that stuff was. It's buggy. You can use a bucket to go through doors, clip into the ground, find that chest, loot the merchant, etc. It was fun. It's quirky. I like that stuff. But other bugs were a bit less, welcome. For starters, there was a dialogue with the radio, and that would bug out sometimes. You would listen to a dialogue with two NPCs, for example, and then suddenly the audio is coming out of the player, like as if you became that NPC and it's right out of your ears. It would really trip me up and weird me out, and it would happen way too many times throughout way too many dialogues. I would keep looking behind me because I got scared if someone was sneaking up on me, and I did not like that. It was a bit, immersion breaking. But again, this is too on the lighter side of the bugs. I love stealth in games, but the stuff in this game, it kinda doesn't work at all. As in, it doesn't exist, basically. The AI seems to see you sometimes regardless of, line of sight, or if you're moving. They just start aggroing you from a far distance, even though it's pitch black, you have no light on you, and you're crouching behind some. And for the most of the time, all these aggro scenarios, they kind of just become a run and gun shootout every time. And I gave up on stealth very early into the game. I did imagine S.T.A.L.K.E.R being a semi-stealth, semi-immersive game. Actually, I thought there would be way more stealth, because there's clearly a stealth mechanic. There's this whole bar that fills up that you've seen in every other game that has stealth in them. And you're crouching and it shows you if you're seen or not seen, and etc. But that wouldn't really matter, and I would always go into the shootout every time almost. Sadly, the lack of this kinda just makes the game less immersive and ruins the options for stealth. And that in general ruins the game for me. And again, I haven't played any S.T.A.L.K.E.R games before, so I actually don't know how they are supposed to be. I don't know if there is supposed to be stealth, or if the stealth is hard or non-existent in the previous games. I don't know. But this kinda didn't feel good, regardless of how it's supposed to be. But the combat, that is still good. I like the combat a lot, kinda. The somewhat strategic positioning, the use of different health items, killing enemies with a good shot, it's all satisfying. The way upgrading works in this game too is pretty simple. Gameplay just revolves around guns. Guns and ammo. You can mod the guns, you can change out the ammo type, so the game basically revolves around guns and finding new ones and the modding. Although I didn't really figure out how modding worked. I tried modding through the mod menu that was, introduced to me, but it wasn't clear at all on how to do it. I learned how to buy attachments and stuff and then attach them to the gun. That's not a problem. But the modding itself, like changing out core parts of the weapon, I tried doing it. I really tried buying upgrades and changing them, even though I had enough money, I was in the right place. There was just no prompt for it. And I just did not know what I was doing wrong. So I kinda just stopped trying to figure it out. But I really didn't care much about that, because I didn't really have to. The game would give me plenty of weapons by just exploring or questing. Some guns would be quite heavily modded and would look really cool without me having to really do anything to get them. And what I'm trying to say here is the progression in that regard feels a bit weak. Since there's no character progression like skill points or stats, or upgrading or any talents of sorts, the only thing you can change is, like I said, guns. Besides the point, you can also change artifacts, but they are just like minor buffs. So when guns are kind of the main part of the game, kind of what you're using, killing enemies with, they are the only progression that is visible for the gameplay. It kind of removes the sense of personal progression when you get handed a bunch of things that don't feel like you really earned it. I several times just stumbled upon a good gun that was just laying in some area, and that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel satisfying. I didn't build it myself. I didn't really do much to earn it. I didn't loot a bunch of stuff and spend my money, and I thought this was well worth it. No, the whole building your own gun becomes a little less interesting when you can just find good guns, honestly, for free. But all that I just talked about is actually overarching another problem with the game, at least for me. I only used shotgun for almost the majority of the game after I discovered it. And let me tell you, that boy is a beast, and in a crazy way. The shotgun was insane and overpowered. I really loved it, but it made the game silly. I would be sniping people with a shotgun, and yes, in reality, you could kill someone with buckshot from a long distance, but it just felt like it was super broken and everything would die in 1 or 2 shots, while using an assault rifle or SMG or a pistol felt completely worthless compared to that. But let's move on. So I said I enjoyed the exploration before, and I love looking around for loot, but the weight system is rough. That paired with movement is kinda a nightmare. Hear me out here. So looting is part of the game, right? You earn the money by selling scrap, weapons, other things, etc. So it's the key part of the game, except that you have a weight limit. Obviously, it's an RPG, it's immersive, of course you have a weight limit, that's not a problem. But you rack up a lot of loot, a lot of food, medicine, grenades, guns, etc. And they are very heavy. And getting all that loot weighs you down into this yellow/red area of your weight system, which makes your stamina drain faster and recover slower. And here comes the problem. You run everywhere. There's no fast travel. At least I didn't find any fast travel, and if I did, I'm stupid and I'm sorry, I will retract the statement, but as far as I knew, there was no fast travel. So you have to run everywhere, meaning traversing 500 meters or up to a kilometer. With the running around and all the loot, you can sometimes spend like 10 minutes just getting to point A, and then you gotta go back to point B of just running back and forth just because you had too much loot and you wanna sell it. It makes me wanna, get rid of the loot as fast as possible, but the loot weighs me down so much, and it makes me not want to loot anymore. Or it just makes me want to say, whatever, I'll just go to the mission. Because partially, honestly, I don't need to loot. I got so much food and health and grenades already, and ammo and whatnot. I don't need to loot anymore. And I don't want to loot either, because of the weight system being such a drag, me having to go everywhere in such a painstakingly long time. And maybe it's immersive for some people, but for me, it's me just maybe up to an hour just running around for no reason. It's a waste of my time, I'm sorry. But let's talk about the weather a bit. We talked about the whole weather system thing, right? And they got this weather phenomenon called emissions. Now, emissions are these huge, I guess you can call them nuclear surges, that will basically insta-kill you if you're outside during one of these surges. It's like a storm, nuclear storm of death. If one happens, there's an alert, and basically everyone walks indoors. Well, rather runs, but you get it. And everything becomes temporarily unavailable, unless you're in a shop already hiding with them. But as for missions, or any quest givers that you need to talk to, they are temporarily deactivated until the mission is over. Once it's over, it's back to normal. And it was really cool. It was cool as hell the first time I saw this. I felt immersed. I felt I was actually hiding in a bunker away from this super scary storm. I even opened the door to look outside and it looked hellish. It was awesome. But it took a while. It was like 5 minutes of me just standing around. Fine, not a big deal, you know, it's whatever. It was cool. Later, I go back into another zone for a mission, like another one of those hub towns. And there's another mission. Right, fine. I just go wait it out, no problem. Kinda less cool this time, but okay. Then it happens again, a third time. Gonna go leave a mission. Boom. A mission. Kinda getting annoyed at this point. It's cool and an immersive feature, but it happens a bit too often and it stalls the gameplay. And it's a cinematic effect that has no purpose on the actual gameplay, and that kinda gets tiring after the first few times, especially when it was as often as it was for me. Maybe that was a bug, I don't know, but that was too much for me. Don't get me wrong, it is cool, and it might have some lore implications, I don't know. For me, it's just getting in the way of the gameplay, and that's what I kind of like, the gameplay. Now, let's move on and get to the bug. The bug that made me stop playing the game. So I went into the faction-owned area in main quest. This is the only faction I haven't killed a single member of, and that I wanted to be biased towards because why not? You know, RP, I want to be this. They're like militarian dudes. I want to RP being one of them. I want to be biased. I want to be a yes man for them. Whatever. I'll kill everyone except them. I enter the base. It's a huge base. Oh, what happens? I get hit with another emission. Well, we already talked about that. Whatever. I leave the place I was hiding in after the mission is done, and bam, on the minimap, on like the little compass thing, I see 3 red dots on my compass. They're enemies. I was a bit confused. Enemies, alright, whatever. I look around and I see no one special. Just a bunch of faction members walking out of some door. And as I get closer, they turn around and aggro me. No reason. I didn't do anything. I had no guns out. I was literally waiting out on a mission the past like 5 minutes. And I got to the base like 10 minutes ago. I did like another quest and I came back. And it pissed me off. So I go ahead and I stop playing the game for the day. And the next day I say whatever, maybe it was a bug. I reload the game and it's fine, actually. No one is attacking me. I keep playing a few more hours until I eventually come back to the area. I don't remember why exactly, but I come back to the area and they aggro once again. I try not to shoot anyone and just run away, maybe come back and they'll be fine. No. The whole base starts slowly but surely aggroing me. And they get angry at me, and unless there is some vital game mechanic no one told me about, I just got a whole faction's army against me for no reason. So that's that. Let's wrap this video up with some final thoughts, shall we? I really want to like this game, but sadly I don't. There are too many gameplay features that do not speak to me, and overall the game cycle doesn't appeal to me, and it feels very, very repetitive. Especially once I feel like I've already gotten high-end guns at 10 hours in, you know? So the issue here is the gameplay and the systems around it for me. Everything else, honestly, the world, the aesthetic, the setting, the art style, the lore, they're all really cool and things I could see myself sitting down and enjoying for like hours on end. And even though I did find the story a bit confusing at times, but not enough that I didn't want to stop. I still wanted to see what's happening more in the world. I understand that the game went through some problems during development stages, or being a main reason, and I can definitely see a good game here. And maybe for fans, this is exactly what they want, and I'm happy for you. But for me, the game is what the game is, and it's a bit shallow, with some game-breaking bugs and immersion-ruining things. It just doesn't sit well with me. But I think I will recommend the game in general. For anyone that wants to try it, I will say yes, go ahead. But I recommend that you get the game through Game Pass before committing to the full price tag of 60 bucks or 60 euros. Maybe my bugs were unique to me and my issues were unique to my machine. I don't know. Maybe you won't have the same experience as I do. And it might be a better game for you. So, you know what? Let's chat about this in the comments. What is your experience with the game? Have you had any game-breaking bugs, or is it just me? Have you played any S.T.A.L.K.E.R games before? Do you agree or disagree with this video? And as always, consider leaving a like and subscribing. I'm a small channel that just likes playing games and doing any kind of review of any game my way. So that's all from me, folks. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.